So let's see if the sound works. Sound? Hello, sound? Sound, hello? See the microphone. Okay. That microphone. Hello? Hello? Microphone? Microphone, 1, 2, 3. Do I need to turn up the volume? Hello, can anybody hear me? I'm trying to test my microphone. Hello? Hello? Currently having some problems here. I'm trying to fix that. Oh, you hear me? Oh, that's good. Because I can't see that the microphone is working. That's very good. Well, welcome everybody. I hope the sound is acceptable. I have the microphone right here today versus over there on the computer. So if you can hear me, that's awesome. Well, yeah, we're having a spontaneous live stream tonight. Anything Viking age goes. So I'm just going to give it a second to see who wants to show up. So till then, I just need to use some small talk. I don't think too many people are going to show up. It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the United States, and that's still, people are still at work. But it's about 9 o'clock in the evening here. And it's been a long day. Oh, good. Okay, that's good. Welcome back. Cool. So anything Viking age, if you guys want to discuss anything Viking age tonight. Tonight's Viking age topics. We'll see who shows up here in a minute. It's very hot in here. We've been having some very nasty weather here in Germany. It's been raining, and raining some more. And we had some snow yesterday. Yep, getting last. Good evening, Dan. How are you? We just started. We were just testing the microphone to make sure this works. Hello, Mayhem Prospecting. Hello, welcome. Yeah, we just tuned in. We're getting this. We're giving everybody a minute to tune in here. We just had to test the microphone. Yeah, we're having a spontaneous discussion on Viking age topics. So anybody who wants to put in a topic here, we can discuss that. That'd be very quick night. Just giving everybody a minute to show up here. Cheers, by the way. It's very hot. We got the fireplace going over there. You can hear the wind. It's very strong. It actually broke one of my pegs that was holding the tarp for my Viking camp for my forge, broke it in half. So tomorrow morning I have to get up early, pack the van full of tools, go find a new ground post to sink into the ground to anchor my tarp down. It flew away today. Actually broke off in the ground, which is really rain. Yep, it's raining pretty well outside. It's actually ruining the ground. The driveway to the Viking camp is really a challenge this time of year. Was going to actually work on it this weekend, but the Bobcat has a flat tire, and there's no electricity and there's no power tools, so I'll have to scrounge up a air tank. Thankfully, it's still sealed on the rim, so I hopefully just have to pump it up and then I can use it. Then I can order some grappa and I can put that down before the road gets too out of hand. I don't have my all-wheel drive. The connection is unstable. That's not great. I have full reception here. I'll just keep talking. If you guys can't hear me, just let me know. Yeah, the ground up at the Viking camp is really starting to wash away some of the gravel, and then you drive through the mud. And that is actually a good idea. Is digging some ditches next to the road. But the problem is the water, it all comes downhill, so I'd have to figure out where to put them so I don't gold, black space. I'd have to research that. I do not know what that is. I'd have to look that up. I don't know. If you know anything about that, you can maybe post your opinion of that. I've never heard of that term before, actually. Yeah, but speaking of ditches, I have, every time it floods, I watch where the water naturally runs, and it digs itself a ditch along the lowest part of the Viking camp at the driveway at the bottom. And all I'm going to do now is just dig it deeper and put what we call a leitplanke, guardrail. Dig it deeper and put what we call a leitplanke, guardrail, and flow along its way, which is really cool. I think that's a plan for the spring, though, because I have not come up with those parts yet. I need some pieces of guardrail. And what I might do after, I want to put the gravel about 3 inches higher where the road is than the rest of the field, so the water runs down instead of across it, so that'll help also. Yeah, and a spade, that might actually help it, but even if I just put, I guess I can finish the interior of the hut, which is just not happening. Time is my biggest enemy. There's a lot of things going on at my job now. And when I come home, I am exhausted. I do not want to pick up any tools and go out in the pouring rain in the middle of nowhere in darkness to work. Yeah, that's a lot of things to do. I have to finish some projects I can't get to around here. 2/3 inches is deep enough. Yes, that's about 2 to 3 inches. That's about 1 centimeter, something like that. I'm thinking about maybe this much on each side. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'd have to look into that. That's actually something really interesting. I really do like things made of gold and stuff. Although I'm more of a silver fan myself. Thor's hammer made from pure silver. Well, it's like between 925, so it's sterling. It was a gift from a very special friend. This is actually a replica of the smallest, well, not the oldest Thor's hammer that they have found so far. It's pretty cool. Hello, how are you? 5 centimeters, yes, that's not that much. So that's perfect. I just don't want it to be too much so that I don't trip and walk. The dogs, we walk a lot there in the dark. So and if it's too much, if I drive too close to the edge, it'll wash down. So it's got to be a fair compromise. But I think I will do that. That's one improvement. And what I have to do as well, I don't like it, but I have to probably do it, is get a what do you call it? A compactor. This thing's really crack your bones. I don't like to use those. Yeah, this Tor's hammer is very special. I don't wear it all the time anymore because I'm afraid I'd lose it. But the weather, it gets dark at 4:30 around here. It's like 4:30, 5 o'clock. The sun is going to bed, rising on the other side of the world that summer. But the weather's been challenging me and exhausted. Today was okay. Today was very productive. I got a lot done. Very competitive on my nerves, but that's how it goes when you have your job. Thank you for asking. It's very kind. Yeah, we're having kind of stormy weather tonight. It blew away some of my setup at the camp. I have to go fix that tomorrow morning. It was too dark, and I did not have the proper tools with me to reset the ground posts. So the tarp blew away because one of the ground posts broke. One of the pegs, they're like 10 pegs, they're like this round. And they're like 6 inches apart. So that's amazing. It broke that in half. So I'll have to fix that tomorrow. I have to pound a new peg into the ground, drill a hole, run the rope through it, and then put the tensioner on there. Be good to go. I'm amazed it lasted that long. This setup here I actually had on my forge now with the tarp around the top. It's actually lasted the longest. I've usually all my other previous settings, I have to drive up there at least once a week and fix something. Kind of had the feeling someone was going up there with a little pocket knife and cutting all the ropes and stuff. But this time, I'm sure this was his brute force, and the wind just cracked it, broke it off. And it's been in the ground for about a year, so. Absolutely true. They made some real nice. One of my favorites is the fire strikers. Yeah, I love fire strikers. I guess you guys know that already. The bronze one with the dragon, where it has the iron inlaid and riveted in. Oh, that's awesome. I figured out how to make bronze. That's something I've not touched at all. I could figure out how to make bronze pieces like that. Yeah, I know you need to cast. Casting that's a thing on its own. That's nuts. I don't know if I could have the patience to enjoy that kind of craft. But it'd be something to watch and learn. Maybe do once or twice just to get the feel of it and to have something cool to make yourself. But bronze is definitely a good one. We also had bronze fibula, so you call it English fibula, to close like the tidbits. I have all these books. In these books, it's just pages of pictures. It's amazing. I forget I have these books, but I love books with pictures. I don't like to read too much, but I like pictures because they show me what the item looks like I want to see and how the dimensions were and what it was made of. So I just recently fire striker since I did not have one, and I tried to inspire my work off of the one that I saw at Headbee. I really liked it. It's a really cool. I don't know if I can somehow blend pictures into something. To actually. Very hot and I've got the fireplace going. Pretty good. Going. Okay, is it better? Before I leave the stream here now? Because now it has 3 people online, and it's working now. Oh, great! We don't have to leave. I moved the internet reception around the corner a little bit. I have yeah, the dogs like to knock over when they play out there. They like to disrupt tear that place up. And sometimes they even unplug it. So why is the internet not working? And they go out there and the wire is all apart. They've been playing. Well, that's good. It's glad to see that that you guys are back and that everything is working now. Okay, good. So let's get the Viking Age. Yes. Well, audio is better. Oh, that's great. I'm happy to hear it. We've improved something by doing. We've improved something by just moving an object 3 inches in the next room. Cool. Very simple technology. Good evening. Yes. How are you? Up here, it still tells me my connection is unstable, so I hope that you can hear me still. So we were talking about the Viking Age. Any topics? We were just talking about gold and silver. Now, my friend, he told me there's actually a battlefield from the Viking Age. There's a Viking battle. I have to figure out what sources he was actually using, because I'm not sure. I'm not familiar that there was this much activity from the Viking Age. Okay, good. Okay, so we're just going to keep going. I wasn't sure that there's actually Viking Age archaeological evidence this far down in Germany. I do know of some towards the northern Germany, towards the Deutsche Ex, where Rhine and Mosel, where they all come down. Towards, so right about Trier there, they found evidence of the Vikings actually traveling there, but they're somehow supposedly a battlefield somewhere about an hour drive away from where I live here. And he got some information on that, and he wants to go with me and get a permission to go metal detecting there. That would be really, really cool to go to find some real cool Viking Age relics. That would be awesome. So we're working on that now. That's something to do though with all the things going on in the world. It's not on the top of my list right now to go far away and do special things. Everybody's got a finger to point at somebody for just being at a place at the moment. So I have to really pick a good time to go and do some research first. What I do want to go is I want to go back to Hedeby and do some exploring and see if they'll let me go in the place where the museum didn't. I have to figure. There's a place in the museum that had stuff put away. I'd like to go and see some of that. And they had stuff put away. I'd like to go and see some of that. They're still restoring a bunch of things that they have found, and I thought those were really cool. That they had sometime within a year, or possibly a little over a year. I was really excited about that. Oklahoma has Viking. Yeah, they did sail to North America. I knew that in like 5th grade. And I thought, the Vikings ever. Yeah, I knew that. I was always very interested in specific areas of history, and the Viking Age was and Native American history. So I had a really great interest in both regions of the world that kind of met in the middle there with what I'm interested in. And I'm sure that there were groups of Vikings, Scandinavian people from that planet, sailed over to North America, and they didn't just sail there and go back. They had to probably take trips down the shore to find repairs for the ship or trade goods or do small raids and trades, I guess you could say. And they left their mark there. But one of the funniest things that I like personally is there is somewhere in the Middle East on one of their old building that's over 1,000 years old. There is graffiti of ruins, of course, but from 1,000 years ago, some Vikings were there, and they went by and they thought it was funny. Hey, let's write on this wall, and they wrote in runes like "Halstan was here," and it's some of the oldest graffiti that's that's known, and it's down in the Middle East, and it puzzled the archaeologists at first, and it was funny, kind of. I think it's kind of a funny joke that way back then, where people had silly ideas like that. One of my favorite stories from the Viking Age is one of those at that point in history. They've also found some Viking ruins. Where was this? I was just reading something. Somebody said something. I don't believe that this is true. I read it briefly, and it's somewhere down in Africa or Mexico. I can't remember. Some odd place. I was like, what? But like they had anywhere there was water, they could sail there. They most definitely they went there. I'm sure. Joms Viking. Yes, I like the Joms Vikings. It's very fascinating. Historically, it's very difficult to put a finger on exactly who they were or where they were located, because there's controversy about that, and we don't have enough literature to base our knowledge off of. We just know of there are in history certain groups of Vikings fit that place, that storyline of the Jums Vikings, or the idea of around the Jums Vikings in different areas of Europe at different times. But there are places, Jomsburg, possibly they say that was the area where they had their that's okay. Okay, so I don't know if you can still hear me, but I think I put the explanation. I think maybe the weather is at fault here, because I have you can really hear it pouring down here. So I'm going to try it again. So the Jums Vikings, I really also am really interested in them as well. I like to read about them, and the fascination amongst that topic of the Viking Age actually caused one of the largest reenactment groups to form in the world. Actually, you have the Jums Viking. You have Jums Viking Poland, and there's actual big official clubs of the country, and they go out and they meet. And if Thor was actually listening, I don't think he would cut off my signal. I think he would come down and sit here and stream live with us. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. Story to tell about Thor. I'm going to say that special day. That's a personal experience in my life that really was fascinating. It's kind of a, maybe I'm putting it into the perspective where I'm fitting the situation to my imagination, but strange things happen sometimes, and then you go, what just happened? Yeah, so, but the Jums Vikings, yeah, it's one of the biggest reenactment organizations in the world. Worldwide, you have Jums Vikings teams, national teams of reenactors who get together every year, and they meet in Poland and you have a big battle. It's so cool. I watched the battles, watched those battles of the Jones Vikings there on YouTube, and it's really fascinating to see these large reenactment battles with 1,000 people as they just go bash each other's skulls in. I'm back. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's good. It's in and out, so it's the rain probably. I can't do much about that. We're gonna try to bear the connection as it is. We'll have to try it out. So the Johns Vikings battles on the YouTube. I watch the meetings that they have in Poland every year. And go to Poland. That's quite a drive for me. Drive to Norway is actually quite easy. You just go straight up from where I'm at. It's straight up on the Autobahn for 8.5 hours. Kind of. It's not that bad if you have good music rolling and the weather's nice. It's actually a nice ride. What takes the longest time is when you actually get to your destination. I have to drive to the north, to the port in Kiel, that's in the North Sea, and you have to wait there. I have to wait for 8 hours to get on the fare. So I went shopping in the city, went to the outdoor store, and I spent all my budget. Still here in Germany, I almost spent all my budget on outdoor gear. The store was awesome. They had all kinds of cool things. I bought an entire camping forged camp setup for the fire. Being reason that at that time I had no clue if I was going to be able to come home. So I wanted to be prepared for the instance that I get stuck in Norway for a very long time. I wanted to be able to live out in the forest for a couple of days, so I wouldn't have to worry. The worst part about that trip, though, is that my van, the heater broke while I was driving home. And it was cold that day, rain and cold. That was quite a chilly trip on the way home. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it a lot. I did enjoy it a lot. The coolest part of the traveling was the ferry. That was like driving my own personal boat. I would love to do that again. That was a lot of fun. The ocean. Okay, so we have here now. Yeah, I'm gonna be on here. I'm gonna do this for about another 15 minutes, and then probably. Okay, we have no people watching now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand how this works. See, it's up here. It says 0 people watching, and then I guess you guys are still all here. So I don't know how this connection is telling me that that's what's going on. But yeah, yeah. I did have a great time on my trip. The trip there was worth it. And one of the highlights was I was walking through the forest, did a little bit of exploring, and I kind of got lost. Not really, but I thought I was lost. On my way, on my way back, I was going downhill from the top of the mountain that I had walked up around the other side, and I was kind of like disoriented where I was. But I knew I had to go down to get kind of close to back where I was going. You all have your eyes closed. Oh, okay. Maybe it's peekaboo. Hello. Yeah, so then I got down to about where I started, and I was just behind the tree line to the camping area where I started my hike, and I didn't know that. I thought I was still lost. And I looked over to my left, and I looked, what is that? And all of a sudden, it looked like a horse. It gets up, and it was an elk, big antlers. And it looks at me, and it makes these horse noises, and I was like, is that a horse? And I look at the antlers, I'm like, no, it's not a horse. And I just saw this big pile of poop, just maybe 20 feet up the hill and it was fresh. And I was like, well, I wonder what animal that was. Probably elk poop. Hope he's not around somewhere. And lo and behold, I go a couple feet up front and he gets up. I'm like, oh no, bad day. It's kind of nervous because you know those animals can be very dangerous. And I was going to make a picture, but then I decided I probably just should be on my way. And as he was walking away, it was so amazing. I could still remember the ground where I was standing every time just took a step. He wasn't running, he was just walking away. It was like a Tyrannosaurus, like in Jurassic Park. It was like, it was so amazing. That was pretty cool. That was one of the highlights of my trip. That was fun. Yeah, I see a lot of cool waterfalls and areas. Not too different than Germany, I'd say, but the big difference is it's a lot, where I was, it was very rocky. It's here, to get that kind of rocks, there's only certain areas that are like, we have a lot of hills and valleys here too, but they're soil mostly. So we have 5 people here now. Okay, that's awesome. I didn't think anybody was going to show up today. That's pretty cool. Yeah, they're amazing animals. I just could not imagine, just waking up one morning and just standing in front of your tent, just looking at you like, hi. But that's a closest I got to an animal like that here in Germany is a red deer. We have a red deer here. It's about the same size, a little bit smaller, but you don't get anywhere near red deer. They're so shy. You will not see a red deer walking through the forest. They will have if you're just walking through the forest, they will have been long gone before you walk by that. So that's if you get to see one from far away or if you binoculars, that's still really special because that's we don't have too many red deer here where I live, but I have seen them here. Up at the hills, they like to travel across the top, like high altitude. So, yeah, I talk a lot. I mean, the voice be. Oh, great. Getting some more viewers in here today. So around an hour, it takes about an hour to get everybody to wake up. Well, I guess everybody's getting off work now. What is it, about 10 o'clock? It's about 4 in the afternoon in the States now. Yeah, so the Viking Age, it was a really tough time. A lot of people think about, oh, it's cool, I like to be free and do what I want. It was not a lot different than today, actually. It was a tough time. Yeah, it's the toughest time. What's that TV news outside the window? That's pretty cool. You got to see that, in the comfort of your home too. That's really cool to come up that close. The Viking Age was. So if you think about it for a minute, you have the constant threat of disease. You have the constant threat of being attacked by your neighbors, by some other raiding Viking group. You have the constant threat of starving because you have to work every day so that you had food. And even if you did work every day, there was no guarantee that the harvest would come through. The land was harsh. The soil was very rocky. It was very hard soil. It wasn't very fruitful. So you had to really work the soil to a point where you had to keep adding in good materials. And it wasn't a very good farmland in northern lands up there. There's some areas where I guess it's probably a lot easier than in most areas, but let me get out my browser for a second. Hey, Ralph. Scratching his ear. That's it. So then he didn't live very long. That was the other thing. Today, the average person needs to get about, let's say, lives to about 70, 75. maybe 80, or no, a little bit longer. I would have been an old person in my age. I'm almost 40 now. I got a couple years to go, but close, going on 40. And that would have been like, hey, you old fart, what are you doing? I'm still alive. You know, that's been like, it's harsh times. Didn't have access to the medications and the medicine that we have today. But in one way, it's, you know, there's pros and cons of things. It's, if you think about it, it's fun to think about. Compare what it would have been like to be there, but to actually have lived them, that would have been tough. I was just wondering if I would have jumped on a boat, sail away to far off land, or if I would have tried to stay and actually farm. I don't know, it's a good question. But I do like silver, and exploring far off lands definitely sounds like a plan. Especially if you're only going to live to be like 35. Let's do it all. Let's do it in one lifetime. It's not a lot of time. My dog's over there trying. I don't know what he's doing. Look for his toys. I buy them new toys, and they go out and they disappear. And then I go and I cut the grass, and the lawnmower goes, and pieces go everywhere. I don't know. Yeah, very hardy people, and they work themselves to death. See, this reason I use power tools on a lot of things is because I'm a mechanic. I worked on cars since I was 15, so that's like almost 22 years. And your fingers, it'll pay you back. Everything you've done to your body when you were in the 20s, and you get that 10 years later. And my hands, they hurt all the time. When I forge something, I like to use power tools. I like to use them a lot because they make the job that I'm trying to do so much easier. And if you compare that to all hand tools, it would have taken me much longer. The result probably would have been even the same. Just for demonstration purposes and for learning experience, it's cool to have used the power tools and understand, to have the experience to have done that once or twice. But the drill a hole, I'm not doing that by hand through a piece of steel. I'm going to use the drill that has the size I need to drill right through it, and then I'll do the next step of the job and move on without having to use the hand tools. And really, it's a time thing too. I always say, if Vikings back then had power tools the way we do today, they would have ruled the world. They would have built empires that would have rewritten history. They would have put Napoleon's armies to shame, because you had in the Roman master machine armies. They would have been nothing compared to the Viking age of the way they would have been able to mass produce things or to make things with the amount of quality, but in less time. So they could build 2 ships instead of 1 in the same time, and they would still be equally good. Cut down. They would probably not have been too cool. They would have cut down all the forests with a chainsaw. Probably had a lot more deforestation. We blame the Vikings for the global warming. That's probably what happened. Yeah, well, every age has its, every society has its peak. Be it with, if we were to think about, let's say, if they were to have that kind of technology, there would have been yeah, that is actually correct there. In the Neolithic period, there was a lot of deforestation for agriculture. Although that amount of deforestation was still so little that nature, back in those days, you could still imagine that was it still nature could still reproduce trees in a lifetime to the amount of trees that were taken away by a small group of people that lived there for 100 years. That they didn't have thousands of people walking through there with machines plowing up acres of forests in just a day. That kind of deforestation that's going to take, it takes about, for a tree to, for a nice big tree about this round, it takes about 80 years to grow. And if it grows in the forest, it's going to take 120 years to grow that because it grows its roots first. And it takes the roots before it reaches all the other trees, so it can form connections with the other trees through the mycelia, the little tiny little mushrooms that connect they build these networks in the forest floor. And that's why the tree, if you see a tree in the forest, in a nice dense growth forest, and the tree is only like maybe a sapling, like 10 centimeters, that sapling outside the forest would probably only be about a year or 2 or 3 years old, but in the forest it's probably over 10 years old, and it's that small because it's taking its time first. It wants to grow its roots out to the other trees so they can send signals. They send electric impulses similar to like our nervous system through the ground, through these mushrooms that act like a symbiosis. It's like a mycelium, and it's really, really interesting. Well, yeah, deforestation has always been a human impact on nature. You always just look at this, just as recently back as to 500 years ago. Hey, you know, the deforestation in the Middle Ages to build castles, and that's where like it really started to go crazy. And we had complete forests of huge trees that were hundreds of years old, cut down to make war bows and exports all over the world. Mostly Europe. It was Britain that bought most of the European export wood. That's yeah, that is true. The stone fields. We still have a bunch of those here at the Celtic villages here. Huge stone walls, ring walls around the cities. They've actually dug up. I was actually at one of those in one of my videos. I didn't get to see the actual site. It was raining really, the weather really was bad that day, so we didn't get to go. I might revisit that here this spring. We go back and actually go see the real ring wall left. It's kilometers and kilometers of stone just stacked in a large circle. It's unbelievable. Yes, that is true. The mycelia is what they call this. The mushroom that grows like nerve endings helps symbiosis. It's the tree gives it some nutrients or some kind of substance so that it grows there, and again the mushroom helps the tree to expand its its roots. Wow, that's pretty cool. You got to actually uh, work on one of those historic monuments there. You can find span the entire country. Wow, for miles and miles. That must be like a huge. I wonder how high was it? How high was that wall? Like 10 feet tall, or if you're gonna make a wall, I'm gonna think about it, probably should be about like 10 feet tall. If you're gonna make a wall like that. And if you think about the technology that they had back then, Neolithic people were much more advanced as well with the way they were, their social structures and their technology as we would think. You think the cavemen, like with clubs and loincloths running around beating up mammoths, and they were a very complex society that was. Oh, okay. Oh, for the small animals. Okay, cool. Yeah, that would be great to maybe have get a permission to go out there and do some research with the metal detector for the museum along that wall. That would have been something cool to research and see if you could probably find old axes and maybe old stone axes probably. You probably still find those, and you have to find yeah, and metal. You probably find some metal. You might be able to find some tidbits there. Yeah, that'd be a cool project. I'm sure there would be. Uh, you could get a permission there somehow to go check that out. That'd be awesome. Hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't. Vikings generally, speaking of farmlands, deforestation. That's one of the reasons why they left. Is the resources there were starting to get scarce because they were building with wood, and further and further as civilization expanded, so did the resources kept getting further and further out. So uh, too many people were starting to live in an area where the resources were starting to get scarce. And that's one of the reasons they weren't exploring, looking for new lands, new resources, new places to go settle and cut down all the trees and take what's there. And that's just how we are, humans. Um, yeah, a lot of people think it's not a very historically. It's a very entertaining show, and I really like it. It's something kind of gives a feel of what it'd be like maybe if Vikings were alive today, but it has very little to do with the Vikings of the actual time. Well, there are some ties in there where you can get characters in, and the timelines don't really match up. So it's a very nice, it's a well done show, but it's not very historically correct at all. That's really cool. Yeah, that's they ruled England for quite a while. I found it Dublin. See them. My dogs are excited. I don't know why. That's just little freedom. Hmm? Mr. Fine. Mr. Fine. Mr. Fine. He's trying to go find the ball. He's gonna roll it around. If they didn't knock over anything here. Peter. Peter Peter Wohleben. Yes, I actually know that guy. I think it's a German guy, isn't it? I think he wrote a book. I think I might even have that book on my desk here. Hold on. I can find all of the Nessus stuff. It might be upstairs in my library, but I have a book like that, and I think that's him. Well, I'm not a big fan of Star Trek. I've never seen, actually, I don't think one episode of Star Trek. Probably as a child I have, but I can't remember. But yeah, he's a forester. Yes, that's correct. But as a forester, if you live in nature and you observe things and you research things, if you think it's part of being part of this experience in life is learning things, and if we begin to learn things on our own, we kind of experience them a little bit differently each. But that's how some of the scientific discoveries came apart. It's not from scientists, it's from private researchers and people just having ideas that went out and researched them, and then science confirms, or science did their own research and said, yes, this idea was good, it led us to this conclusion that was very, very on the topic. Oh, okay. I see how that makes it. Yeah, see that nice scenes there. Yeah, I guess that's how that goes. Science fiction takes some of the magic out of things in nature and makes it a new thing, and everybody thinks they hear a word and they think, wow, I know what that is. And actually, yeah. If you hear a noise, that's my dog rolling around. He's got this ball, and I fill it with all this dry food. And you've got to roll it around to get it out. And he loves that thing. Sometimes he won't even eat his dinner unless I fill that up. Okay. Well, I have to see and take a look at that. I'm not, like I said, I'm not familiar with Star Trek. Yeah. Okay, that's good information. I'll keep that in mind. Waiting for the new. Speaking of TV shows, I'm waiting on the new episode, the new series. What is it, chapter? What do you call it? Waiting on the new chapter of The Last Kingdom on Netflix to come out. I kind of like that story. It's also based off the books. Has nothing to do with mushrooms and time and space, but it's kind of set in the Viking Age around there, and I really like the story, the actors, and it plays off very well. And if you followed from the first series, season, there we go, from season 1, and you've watched all of the all up to the one now, you kind of build a storyline relationship with the characters, and you want to know what's going to happen next, and you're kind of excited to see. And I really like that that show for its the soundtrack kind of traps you in this moment a lot of times. It's pretty cool. You have mushrooms in the universe. That sounds like some psychedelic sci-fi pop fiction movie. But enough of that. Let's stay with the Viking Age topic. Let's just anything here. The longships. Yeah, longships. If I ever win the lottery, I'm going to buy me a longship. And they're going to build it just for me. I can't. They say, build it yourself. Well, I probably could, but I'm sure it'd sink. I'm not a shipbuilder. They have actually a company in Stockholm, I think. Is it Stockholm, Sweden? That builds Viking Age longships for people. I already kind of priced it out. It's about 30 grand for the basic model. No fancy things. And I want one. Then I have to get a sailing license or something like that to go sail it on the open sea. But I think to go sail it on the open sea, you need to have a radio, a lot of modern stuff that sucks. I don't want that. Let's go sail on the open sea and go explore. I don't know, I'll sail to Antarctica for once. That'd be cool. Yeah, that's just the basic. No, you don't get a sail. you don't get, and it's a small boat. It's only like 20 feet, I think. So it's just, yeah, there's a lot of men to sail it. I'm sure I could find them. You know, 6 months prior, we go meet and practice sailing the boats. We do a lot of, we could make our own movie actually. That'd be cool. Have a lot of drones flying around filming us the entire time of we're in the ocean, and then the Vikings and airplane ruins the footage. I get that all the time when I'm trying to film some epic nature scene, or I'm filming and the birds are tripping, and here comes an airplane. Like 10 minutes later, okay, the bird's gone, the insect is gone. Okay, well, whatever. I get that a lot. Yeah, well, I could buy a boat like that. But like I said, if I won the lottery, I'd rather have the real deal. And then I'd hire an army to go sail it for me, just for once, just maybe someplace like Oklahoma, and then back to Germany, because this is my home. I mean, it's kind of a go. And if that works out, we'll go on the next year. We'll take that boat someplace else. We'll take it down to the Mediterranean Sea or something like that. I don't know. It's cool. I'll bet if that does happen, I'll be on television quite often. Having my own longship would be cool. I think that would rule pretty cool. But having a longship doesn't just quite right there. You have to have your own army and the resources to maintain it. And then you could go down to sail down to Poland, all the major rivers in Germany, and go to the Viking festival in Wolin, Poland. Please. The boats are actually quite fascinating. The late model, we had different varieties. We had the ones that were made for trade. They had a longer shape, so they could fit more. They didn't go that fast. They kept more of the goods underground. The ones that were made for battle were kind of taller because we wanted to go through the water. They wanted to cut the water and it goes fast and when it's speed. And the sails, a little interesting, were actually made of wool, sheep's wool, kind of with oil or tar. They had to be so heavy. They found rests of sail pieces in all the ships made of wool. It's really cool. Made of wool. Yeah, okay, cool. Good to know. Yeah, that's the storing of food thing. That is a real deal problem. Now I have that trip when I take my van like 600 kilometers across. I can't store enough, water and food in there, especially if you have the dogs. You load up on food and water, and by the time you get to where you're going, there's no more, and you better hope to find some enough to get you home at least. Well, yeah, I think it's because they were readily available. Wool had a lot of sheep. Flax, I think it would have been harder to, the quantity, I think, would have been the quantity of flax because it's such finer fiber, and then weave it all compact together so you get a nice surface area. And I think wool um, does a good job in the fact that it's the fibers when they're woven together allow some of the air pressure to sink through it so that you don't tear the sail. So I think that's maybe one of the reasons. If something happened to the sail, if they had some kind of puncture, during combat or during sea or during storage, the sail wouldn't tear. It would allow for flexing, so that the woven material, if it got hit by an arrow or if something, who knows. That's one of my. That's why I think maybe, and also abundance. I think wool would have been a lot easier to obtain and process into a sail than flax. Flax is a crop that you have to grow, and depending on how your season went and the surface area of what you grew and what demand you had besides the flax that you were trying to grow for the sale. So it's kind of that's why I think that might not have been a very good choice for them. But for us today, yes, flax would have been a more reasonable idea, but I don't think they had enough of it to spare for sale. Mm-hmm. Yeah, flax grows here quite well. I actually was deciding to um, section off some of my area at the camp next year and actually grow some flax as an experiment for myself. Although my dog's over here doing trying to get on my nerves. He rolled his ball up under somewhere. He wants me to go get it. Get up out here. Get up out. Get by. Yeah, I can, especially being wet and salted from the salt water. It probably weighed a good ton. I'm gonna get. It was depending on the size of the sail. So it's quite a thing. And they probably oiled it with something to keep it water to keep the water out of it, to keep the sails from rotting. Yeah. Yeah, be careful where you get the seeds from. That is correct. You never know what you might be growing instead. You don't want anybody coming by your door. Yep, I can imagine it. No electric pulleys. You hoist it. You have like 30 men would have to hoist that sail. Yeah, I've heard people try to grow flax. They actually got some weird plants that you shouldn't have growing in your backyard. And police came and arrested them. And luckily, they was able to prove, where they got their seeds from. But yeah, you would have to. I probably ordered them at the place I buy all of my seeds for the bees every year out of a catalog. And that way I know I get quality product and I get what I ordered. Mm-hmm. Yes. Hmm. That's a terrible. Yeah. That's a problem. Don't need to look at the ball. Yeah, the police, they have these weird sensors. Well, they had oil skin as far as the leathers that they wore. They had full leather raincoats for when they were at sea. They had, uh, depending on how you, I haven't actually done too much research, but I know they had full leather outfits that they stripped on over their clothes that were oiled and kept them dry while they were rowing the boat or working the sail and in the rough weather. That's the fact that they were able to prove that. And they did have oil. They were oiled with most likely with whale fat. I don't know, leather. Yeah, there's the name of it. It goes like 6 feet tall in some places, and you can strip all of the leaves off of it, and what do you call it? I'll try to figure that out. That's pretty interesting because I knew they had some different fibers. They used hemp rope as well. They used hemp for rope, and they also had it was linen. There's like 3 or 4 different ones, but I have to look it up. I know they also used a lot of well, for fibers for the sail. That would have been probably a natural plant. I'd have to think about that. It's a good question. Yeah, it's kind of a thing. Perfectly, you register an amount that you want to grow and you tell them where it is, and then you have to register a farming license, and you have to be a farmer, basically a small animal farmer, and you pay amount and you can farm that. Just sort of the same with different types of plants there. But I really don't have the urge to plant them at the moment. My dog wants to get outside. Mm, yeah, and then you have people who steal your crops, and the police, of course, if you do it the right way and you get all the proper licenses and stuff to do to to, to grow it just for straight up mechanical purposes for materials, you still have the risk of uh, people stealing your stuff, thinking that they get away with it and use it for personal motifs, and that would just ruin all your hard work. So it's probably not even worth the thought. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that is true. Having to get licenses and stuff, but doing it that way, it's catch 22. I mean, it's people. No, but small farmers, like us, aren't going to profit from that kind of business. It's corporations that have acres and acres and acres and acres of a crop like that in a controlled environment that are going to have the upper hand and actually earn money off of it. And like everything else, oil, salt, sugar, all those things, corn, and you have all the GMO products. It's all the same industry. It's going to be, if it ever does become a legal thing to grow that as a crop, it's going to be just one more of those things that as a small self-sufficient community or a small self-sufficient homestead, you won't be able to support that kind of business, because you'll be put out of business by either all of the ignorant outside world, people coming over taking it. You'd be constantly troubled with all kinds of problems, and the corporations will really put a thumb down on your small business. It's an eyesore for them. So, well, I'm going to end this live stream now because I have to take out the dogs. And, yeah, well, the discussion here is going in a weird direction here. You want to be careful. Now we're on YouTube. Now they watch this. And, but there's an interesting topic you just remind me. I've been trying to take a really good picture. Planting, instead of having one field mixed with all kinds of different plants for the bees, which is basically why I have for the bees to have something in the immediate area. I'm going to be partitioning off small beds of different crops with walkways. It'll be more historically inspired looking. It'll fit in a little bit better in the camp. And I am going to try to hopefully be doing some upgrades to the camp once the weather. See his nose here. Yes. I'm doing some upgrades to the camp. I'm going to be tearing down the partitioning of the fence where I have the cabin and expanding it around to where I have my tent set up. So a lot of work, a lot of stuff is coming down. Yeah, well, it's probably a good idea. I always change my setup every year. I completely tear down most of the camp, and it just gets rebuilt better or different, more efficient, or suiting a different purpose. And some things they stay because they're very cool, and a lot of things I usually end up taking down. The one thing is, the next thing we go is the workshop. The tarp setup is cool. We'll be able to work out of the weather for a little bit, have some of the gear out of the rain, but it's not a permanent fix. I'd like something more permanent where I can actually lock a door and close the door and work solely inside of the construction. That would be something to do. And yeah, routines also. Yeah, routine turn-ons. Once a year, I usually look at the thing and I say, all right, that needs to go, this needs to go, I need to take all this down. I don't like when I have the camera trying to film, the Viking workshop, or at least the blacksmith workshop, and I have all this modern gardening equipment, plastic bowls and stuff, and people are kind of mad at me about that. But I need all that stuff. I need 30 plastic pails that collect the rainwater. I need that because it's that, or I carry bought water from the home tap up to the camp every other day, 200 liters. So it's I have to compromise there a little bit. But I'm going to be working on that'll be a whole new corner of the camp for gardening topics, and I'm going to try to keep the camera angle so that it kind of fits the scene. It's a work in progress. I'm doing it all by myself. It's what people don't realize. It's tough just doing it all by yourself. You have to make it all work, but then it has to look the part, and it has to work for me. It's not just to look nice. I actually grow my food there, so it's got to be efficient. And this year was really bad because everything I put it drowned out. The rain we had was terrible. The bees suffered. All my crops suffered. Everything was basically destroyed. So I ended up buying all of my vegetables and all of my fruit from a store this year, which really sucks because normally my goal is 90%. Grow all that on my own. That was really a bummer this year, but that's how it goes. Ivy. I do have ivy. I have lots of it. And what I need to do is I need to figure out where the strands are. The old strands, I think at a certain age they start to bloom. So what I want to do, I have one partition of wall that I put up, boards, to kind of keep the dogs from running out in the forest. And the ivy grows all over the ground there and up the trees. So I want to make sure I get some of that ivy up off the ground and actually grow it up onto my boards. And that's when it starts to spread. And those individual ivy leaves will actually start to grow. And at a certain age, though, that whole thing will start to bloom. And ivy is a really good late blooming plant in the year, in the fall, late fall, when there's nothing left in bees to get something. This is really good. Ivy is a good supply. That's actually correct. Yeah, well, self-reliant 100%. It's really cool if you can do that, but it's, for me, it's super impossible. First of all, if you type that, I need a car to go to work and be able to work, to pay for fuel, and sitting here doing this live stream right now, I need to pay for internet, electricity, and those things don't come from growing 3 raised beds full of tomatoes and 2 beehives and making a couple videos on YouTube. That stuff, that's it's not paying itself quite yet, but working on it. But to be 100% self-reliant, that is a very good goal. Yeah, LPG gas for the forge. That's very interesting. That's is that propane? Because I have, I don't know if LPG gas that's considered propane fuel. Yeah, I think LPG gas is the one you get at the gas station. It's propane gas to run your car. They have that a lot here too. I have a propane forge, it's quite decent size one. I like to use it a lot. The down draw is I can't get the metal hot enough to harden most of my um, work for like flint strikers and stuff like that. That's why I have the coal forge. The coal forge, I like using the coal forge when I'm doing sheet metal work, when I'm forging the bowls from the odor startup, switch over if I want to do something like harden a piece, or I need to heat up the oil slightly before hardening it, or I need to temper something just a little bit, like a punch or chisel for a job real quick. Okay. Okay. Well, I've never ran a forge out of an actual gas that comes from the wall. That's pretty. I've seen them for sale. I have on the eBay classifieds. I've seen them for sale a couple times here and there, and they're not cheap, but it's probably something really cool to have if you're familiar with it and you can learn to work with it. But I'm still a big fan of my coal forge. And the only thing I don't like about it at the moment is that it's turned to where when I start it, the wind usually blows all the fumes in my face, which is one big thing. I need to build a permanent structure for the shop, and it's going to be getting a a duct for the fumes to be sucked outside. And until that happens, I'm going to move the forge to my left, so I'll be sideways from my normal position, and I'll just have to turn my angle around a little bit. And that way I can still be filming in the shop with the camera angle, the usual angle, and the fumes will go either this way or this way and not in my face in the front. So that's one thing. Yes, coal, it's, a lot of places don't have coal. It's really hard. You can use wood charcoal, but if you're going to use wood charcoal, you have to be really careful about the sparks. And you have to know those sparks they can cause the roofing stuff like that to go up in fire quickly. So you want to be able, if you have nothing but wood charcoal to use in your forge, make sure you're out in the open, and you maybe even put over like an air duct to catch most of the sparks and suck some of those fumes up out of your face. But those sparks will also get in your face. They'll burn you around your eyes, and they'll come up and get you in the eyes if you're not careful. And but it's a very hot, clean fire you can get from that. There's no sulfur in it, which is it's a good plus. But I usually use wood charcoal, about a handful of it, to start up my charcoal forge fire, and then I pull in the coal from the back, so that it's easier to start the fire with wood charcoal than it is to start the coal fire. Yeah, that's a big thing. So, and gas, I'm going to be gas. If you have some way if you have a natural gas hookup at your home, that would maybe be a option. So you'd have to look into it. I don't know really. So you can still order it online. That lasts me a very long time. Hey, no, that's really yeah. So that's if you probably went to a discounter. Oh well, forging and tell me you want a certain kind of coal. It's got to have a certain sulfur content, no more to exceed than a certain. If you look at Schmiedekohle, coke for forging. If you Google the information on the sulfur content, I think it's less than a certain, I think 10% or 13%, something like that. That's a good coke to use. Anything over that is got too much sulfur in it. And by the time a piece of coke burns down to where you can actually put your money in there, then there's nothing left to produce energy. Well, I don't know how much it would cost for you in Australia. If that's where I think I read that you were in Australia. Yeah. So I would go find a company that sells heating supplies and actually just go and ask them, what's the deal? Because you want to buy, maybe just see if you get them to sell you a pallet of one product, not just a bag of coke. Maybe that way you can establish some kind of resource. I would at least try that maybe, because that's how I get mine. It was difficult here for me to get coal forging coke, and I can order it off the internet by a bag at a time, or we have a store right down, actually 20-minute drive from here, that sells heating oil, heating fuels, and all that. They don't carry it in stock, but I said I need a certain product, and it's for forging in my forge, and I'd like to have this. And they said, well, if you order a pallet of it, we'll order it for you. So I ordered a pallet of it, and they had it shipped right to my door. So I don't know if they can do that for you. Yeah, if you can maybe buy 10 bags or 5 bags, what they'll do for you. And if that lasts you for a while, then just make sure you find the source. You have to really shop around. It takes a while to establish your resources if you're into a certain hobby. If you're into woodworking, you need to know where can I get all the good wood that I need to do certain jobs, and look at the tools. The same thing with blacksmithing. You need fuels, and you need to know where to get them. Some places you have to compromise because the price is what it is. You can't get it cheaper, and if you want to do that, you need to have the resources. You need to have a little bit of money for some good fuel. Without a good fuel source, it's not even worth starting, because you won't be able to get the results that you would like to expect through the forge. So it's a little bit of research. Maybe, I don't know. I've never been to Australia. I do not know. Yeah, they call the fire brigade. Yeah, that's funny. That's not funny that the fire brigade comes up. That's But it's ironic because I kind of feel that we're in the same boat there. Every time I start a big fire, I'm always listening for that siren to go off in the town because my camp is it's out in the boonies. It's far away from the town that I live in. But if you look up, the nearest thing to the town is the sawmill, and you pass the sawmill on the way up into the forest, and a good couple kilometers. And then I have my property up there where the Viking camp is, and people freak out all the time when they see my fire. That's I, uh, I understand that quite well. Yes, okay, I was actually going to end the live stream here a little while ago, about 20 minutes ago, but then we got started talking about something really interesting here. So I'm probably going to end the live stream here as well. And thank you all for tuning in. That was quite a neat chat we had there. And I hope to see you guys soon. I'm probably planning on another live stream sometime around the end of the week towards Friday. So good night. I'm going to write that down here. Yeah, prospecting is the question. Right now is yeah, you're fine. We don't have a lot of gold here. It's just something I do. I've been doing it since I was like 12. It's just a hobby. It really, one day I'm gonna find some gold nuggets. But until then, I'm gonna have to go to bed now. So thanks you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Really good time. It was a nice chat. And so it's lunchtime. Well, have a good lunchtime. It's nighttime here. So you enjoy your lunchtime. I would like to come to Australia, but fortunately what's going on there right now, I've heard some really creepy stories. And it's not too pretty here at the time. It's not too amusing here in Germany as well at the moment. So, but one day maybe I will come there. That's a definite thing on my list of things I'd like to do. So everybody, good night. I'm gonna have to end it now. So stay safe and see you all soon.